Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. My name is David Comishong, and I am Barbados' ambassador to the Caribbean community and to the Association of Caribbean States. And it is my pleasure, my honor, and privilege not only to be your master of ceremonies for this important event this morning, but also to extend to you a warm welcome and to wish you all a happy Africa-CARICOM Day 2023. I want to extend a very special welcome to our acting Prime Minister, William Dugid, to all ministers of government who are with us here this morning, to members of Parliament, members of the diplomatic corps, a very, very special welcome as we go out through the various social media platforms. A very special welcome to the chairperson of the African Union Commission, all the way over there in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to all the officers of the African Union who would be keyed in to this ceremony here this morning in Addis Ababa. A very special welcome to Dr. Carla Barnett, the CARICOM Secretary General, and all of the officers of the CARICOM Secretariat there in Georgetown, Guyana. Very special welcome to all of my fellow CARICOM ambassadors. Welcome, welcome. This is indeed an historic day. This is a day that was made back in 2021 when on the 7th of September 2021, the heads of government of the African Union and CARICOM came together in the very first Africa-CARICOM Heads of Government Summit. And at that historic event, the decision was made that henceforth, the 7th of September would be designated and celebrated across the Caribbean community and the continent of Africa as Africa-CARICOM Day. A day on which we come together to celebrate our unity, a day on which we come together to lift up our Pan-African heritage as sons and daughters of Africa, a day on which we come together to remind ourselves of the agenda that we agreed upon back in September 2021, that agenda that says that henceforth Africa and the Caribbean must be partners in development. The African Union and CARICOM must be partners in development. And so on this glorious day, I cannot help but think that the spirits of our great Pan-African ancestors must be smiling with us today. I can't help but think that the spirits of Prince Hall, the spirits of Edward Wilmot Blyden, the spirits of Samuel Jackman Prescott and London Bourne and Marcus Mosiah Garvey and Amy Jakes Garvey and Rabbi Arnold Ford and Mignon Innes Ford and C.L.R. James, George Padmore, Kwame Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta, Winnie Mandela, Miriam Makeba, Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, and we can go on and on. W.E.B. Du Bois, that they must, Emperor Haile Selassie, their spirits are smiling with us today as we come together, the Caribbean and Africa, as we bring together our Pan-African family. And so we are hoping that this day will take hold as a special day of significance all across the Caribbean community and Africa. And in a sense, what we are doing here at government headquarters in Barbados with this flag-raising ceremony, where we will be raising the flag of the African Union, the flag of CARICOM, and our own national Barbados flag, that this will be an example of the way in which we must all embrace this special day of significance. And we must go on in the years to come to make this day one of the most powerful milestone days that we celebrate as an African people. So we have a very powerful and meaningful ceremony in store for you this morning. And in order to set the tone, in order to invoke the arts to help us to set the right tone for what is to follow, I am going to invite to the stage one of the great artists of Barbados. I wish to invite to the stage none other than the great Marissa Lindsay, and she is going to give us a song of welcome, a song of inspiration, a song that is beckoning us to a bright future as African people. Please, ladies and gentlemen, make her feel very welcome as she comes to the stage to perform for us the song entitled Rise Up.
So don't you listen when they say we can't make it. Those narrow minds are in our way. We are winners. So strategize, focus your mind how we're gonna make it through these troubled times today. God bless the hands and the thoughts and the minds and the will of the people that do this work, this wonderful work, necessary work. We are one, each one in a million, shining bright in each of our nations. Filled with joy, we join the celebration. Africa and CARICOM, stand as one, stand as one. Oh, Africa and CARICOM, stand as one, stand as one. We are winners, and there is so much more to do, but we can make it. Each day we craft our destiny. We are winners, so don't you ever let them say we can't make it. We craft our destiny. Father Lord, we come here today in celebration of this unification, and we praise our Creator across the diaspora. We are one, each one in a million, shining bright in each of our nations. Rise up, Africa and CARICOM, stand as one, stand as one. One Africa and CARICOM. We are one, we are one, we are one.
Thank you, Marissa. Another round of applause for Marissa Lindsay, please. So the tone is set. CARICOM, Africa Union, the people of Africa, the people of CARICOM, this is your day. And we welcome you to this, our flag raising ceremony. Not only will we raise the flags, but we will play the anthems as well. The beautiful and stirring anthem of the African Union and the engaging and infectious anthem of CARICOM, our Caribbean community. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley could not be here with us today, but we do have our acting Prime Minister. He is the Member of Parliament for Christchurch West. He first entered Parliament in 2003, exactly 20 years ago. This year will be the 20th anniversary of that memorable day in his life. He is a senior minister within the government of Barbados. He has responsibility for infrastructural projects and town and country planning matters. But this morning, he is our acting Prime Minister, William Dugid, and I now invite Prime Minister Dugid to come to the podium and to give us a word of welcome and a statement on behalf of the government and people of Barbados. Make him welcome as he comes to the podium, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, Ambassador Commission, members of Cabinet, members of Parliament, Dr. the Most Honorable Anthony Carter, Cultural Ambassador Extraordinaire, Mr. Leo Preville, Special Representative of CARICOM Secretary General, Professor David Akombo, Dean, Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts, University of the West Indies, Cave Hill Campus, University of the West Indies, Permanent Secretaries and officers of related grade, representatives of the Barbados Police Force and the Barbados Defense Force, representatives from CARICOM and CARICOM agencies headquartered in Barbados, honorary councils, members of the Social Partnership, representatives from the University of the West Indies, representatives of the local Ghanaian organization, Pan-African Coalition of Organizations, Clement Payne Movement, Israel Lovell Foundation, and Barvin, CARICOM Youth Ambassadors, all those persons who are joining us online from our missions overseas, other specially invited guests, members of the media. A warm and most pleasant good morning to you from the forecourt of government headquarters here on Bay Street. Today, we celebrate Africa-CARICOM Day. This brand new day of significance for the nations and people of Africa and the Caribbean community is one of the principal outcomes of the first Africa-CARICOM Summit that was held on the 7th of September 2021. An historic summit that established the foundation for a new and enhanced partnership between Africa and the Caribbean, between the African Union, AU, and the Caribbean Community, CARICOM. Both CARICOM and the AU come to this long overdue rendezvous with their own unique strengths and qualities, but also with a shared heritage that is rooted not merely in a common ancestry, but also in a common history of struggling together, dreaming together, organizing and achieving together. So with that history to inspire and guide us, Africa and the Caribbean, the AU and CARICOM have now come together in a renewed and enhanced partnership in these beginning years of the third decade of the 21st century. Not only have we come together to coordinate our efforts to repair the currently existing international economic and political order and gain for ourselves our rightful place in world affairs, but we've also come together to repair and restructure our own Africa-Caribbean relationship. Indeed, we have come together to carry through the cultural repairs and the economic, organizational, and institutional restructuring that will deliver to us greater African-Caribbean engagements, collaborations, strength, and self-reliance. These were the sentiments and aspirations that we brought with us when on the 7th of September 2021, the heads of government of Africa and the Caribbean staged the first Africa-CARICOM Heads of Government Summit. What was truly significant about the summit was the very concrete, groundbreaking initiatives and projects that were agreed to and that were outlined in the communique issued at the conclusion of the summit. We reaffirmed our commitment to uphold and strengthen multilateralism and urged the need to reform international financial institutions in order to ensure greater inclusion and equitable representation, called for the lifting of unilateral economic sanctions and embargoes against Cuba and Zimbabwe, and committed ourselves to press for reparative justice. Without doubt, this is a very relevant and visionary agenda, but it must be acknowledged that 2 years on, much still needs to be done to operationalize it. Furthermore, one can argue that events that have taken place over the past 2 years have made the need for Africa and the Caribbean community to establish institutions of collaboration and coordination even more compelling. I refer to such events as the constantly deepening security, governance, and humanitarian crisis in our Caribbean nation, Haiti, as well as the military coup in the West African nation of Niger, and the deadly and tragic civil wars that have so scarred the nations of Ethiopia and Sudan. I also wish to reiterate and reemphasize that the AU and CARICOM must join forces and fight for a greater presence, a greater input and say in all the important international policy and decision-making institutions and processes. Similarly, Africa and the Caribbean, the AU and CARICOM must join forces to establish as a central principle of international law and policy that the nations and peoples of Africa and the Caribbean are now possessed of a fundamental and non-negotiable right to development with the appropriate assistance. Indeed, this principle is at the very heart of reparative justice. The campaign that we in CARICOM are inviting the AU to join us in. There is so much for us in the AU and CARICOM to do and accomplish together. Let us therefore use this celebration of Africa-CARICOM Day to rededicate ourselves to the bold, visionary, and so very necessary work program that we designed for ourselves at that unforgettable Africa-CARICOM Day 2 years ago. Happy Africa-CARICOM Day to all my brothers and sisters across Africa and the African diaspora. I thank you.
What a powerful statement. This is why we can call our minister a heavy roller. Very powerful, very much to the point. And let us thank him again for that wonderful statement with a round of applause. Brothers and sisters, we began with an expression of song. We now want to bring to the stage the art form of dance. And we have with us a group that represents a combination of the Rhythm Tribe Dance Group of Barbados and our University of the West Indies Cave Hill Dance Ensemble. And they're going to present a dance that is extremely appropriate for today. The title of the dance, choreographed by Aisha Comishong, the title is One Flies, All Soar. I want to repeat that. One flies, all soar. In other words, the dance is telling us that when we come together and we act in unity and collectively, that we soar, that we exceed anything that we could have done as a singular entity. So, ladies and gentlemen, I now give to you Rhythm Tribe and the UWE Cave Hill Dance Ensemble with One Flies, All Soar. Do we move? I think we may need to move the podium.
imama, oh imama. Zangalito boy, imama imama, oh imama. Abladi eba, imama imama, oh imama. Zangalito boy, imama imama, oh imama.
That's what we're talking about. One flies, all soar. And you know, at that first Africa-CARICOM summit in September 2021, one of our decisions was that we are going to bring together the arts of the African continent and the artistic expressions of the Caribbean community, and we are going to build Pan-African cultural industries. Well, Marissa Lindsay, Rhythm Tribe, and the Yui Dance Ensemble gives an idea of the kind of potential we have for building such cultural and artistic industries. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, it now gives me great pleasure to bring CARICOM to the stage. And I bring CARICOM in the person of Mr. Leo Titus Preville, a native of St. Lucia, who is the director of CARICOM's flagship project, the CARICOM Single Market and economy. And Mr. Prevail works out of the CARICOM, the CSME, CARICOM Single Market and Economy Unit of the CARICOM Secretariat that is located right here in Barbados. So I invite Mr. Prevail to come to the podium and to deliver remarks on behalf of the CARICOM community, and I would imagine specifically on behalf of Dr. Carla Barnett, the Secretary General of CARICOM. Make him feel welcome, please.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I will accept the protocol that the Acting Prime Minister so eloquently established early on. Acting Prime Minister, if your permission. So I recognize the Acting Prime Minister, William Duguid. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to deliver these remarks on behalf of the Secretary General of CARICOM. Thank you very much. So it gives me great pleasure to deliver these remarks on behalf of the Secretary General of CARICOM, Dr. Carla Barnett, at this flag-raising ceremony in observance of the second annual Africa-CARICOM Day. The people of the Caribbean community share deep historical links with Africa and are committed to forging a shared future of progress, sustainable development, and prosperity. This commitment has been reinforced through actions led by visionary leaders of the continent and the community, from the historic struggles against the heinous transatlantic trade in and enslavement of Africans, to the movements for decolonization, and now the modern push to protect our planet and reshape the global order. To this end, CARICOM looks forward to building on the foundation laid by the historic Africa-CARICOM Summit of September 2021, which established the ambitious agenda for cooperation between the continent and the community. We are pleased that many of the summit's goals are already being advanced through deliberate action. Amongst the most impactful of these has been the Africa-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, which was spearheaded by the government of Barbados in 2022. At that forum, the chairman of CARICOM said, and I quote, "The Caribbean community looks forward to a strengthened trade and economic partnership with Africa in the years ahead," unquote. The forum facilitated constructive dialogue and strong government-to-government and business-to-business contacts among the private sector of the two regions. Just a few weeks ago, here in Barbados, we saw the launch of the Africa-CARICOM Bank Caribbean office, building on the bank's commitment to support CARICOM as part of the 6th region of the African Union. 9 member states have signed partnership agreements with Africa-CARICOM Bank, which has committed to extending $1.5 billion US dollars, a line of credit of that magnitude, to CARICOM member states. Already, the bank has indicated its willingness to consider doubling the line of credit once partnership agreements have been signed with the remaining member states of CARICOM. There have been follow-up exchanges between the CARICOM Secretariat and the African Union Commission, focused on enhanced trade and economic relations. These have led to proposals for studies on sectors of high potential for stimulating trade between Africa and the Caribbean, as well as the development of a concept note and terms of reference for a consultancy on a possible future Africa-Caribbean Free Trade Area Agreement. Now, the historical design of Africa and Caribbean trade and production arrangements did not envisage direct trade between these two regions, but was fashioned so that these two regions would serve as hinterlands of colonial powers whose trade routes were north-south and triangular, with aspects that were barbaric and reprehensible. Resetting trade patterns for east-west trade in goods and services between Africa and the Caribbean will be the first challenge to address. As CARICOM celebrates its 50th anniversary this year, it is perhaps fitting that the promising seeds planted over the last 2 years, aimed at deepening economic, social, and cultural ties with Africa, be nurtured with deliberate purpose. Already, the foundation is being laid for access to capital by the private sector through the Afri-Exim Bank. The logical next steps must involve the provision of mechanisms for direct connection between CARICOM and Africa. The investment environment must be made conducive to encourage and facilitate investors and their investments. Finalizing the CARICOM investment policy, inclusive of the incentives agreement and investment code, assume critical importance. There must be a means of facilitating payments for goods and services traded amongst the countries of the two regions. In that regard, it is important that every effort be made to complete the process for possible adoption of the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. This should provide an opportunity for boosting Africa-Caribbean trade and investment. While the historic ties between Africa and the Caribbean are well understood and visible, the enslavement and transport to the Caribbean of people from Africa from the 15th to the start of the 19th century, and the generations who have lived in the Caribbean since then, have led to the formation of different cultural identities and value systems. To assist with reconnecting the two regions, cultural exchanges are vital to creating greater understanding amongst the peoples. This is an area which will have to receive dedicated attention. So, in closing, as Africa and CARICOM today celebrate the second Africa-CARICOM Day, the CARICOM Secretariat stands ready to support the advancement of the objectives set out in the declaration from the inaugural Africa-CARICOM Summit of 2021. Our regions are powerful and innovative entities in the global community and have the potential to create new opportunities for cooperation and growth. In developing the relationship with Africa, both parties stand to significantly diversify the markets for goods and services, build their resilience to global economic shocks, and diversify their investment portfolios. Through increased trade and investment, the peoples of Africa and CARICOM could embark on a truly transformative journey, one that could help break the shackles of persistent poverty and improve the quality of lives of the people of Africa and the Caribbean community. I thank you very much.
Okay, we thank Leo for delivering that message on behalf of our entire Caribbean community at this venue in Barbados, our government headquarters. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you that one of the core projects that binds the Caribbean and Africa together, but one of the core projects that both CARICOM and the African Union have resolved to pursue in collaboration is the project of reparations, reparative justice for the enslavement of our African ancestors and for all the damage that was done to the African continent. And we have with us this morning an outstanding Barbadian artist by the name of Betty Griffith Payne. She also goes by the calypso name of Betty B. And she is going to perform for us a composition of our Barbadian cultural ambassador, the Most Honorable Anthony Gabby Carter. That composition is titled My Ancestors, but it is unofficially known as the Reparations Song. So please help me to welcome to the stage that Barbadian, and I dare say Caribbean diva. I see her slowly making her way to the stage. There she is. Please, let us welcome her as she comes to the stage looking resplendent in her African outfit to perform for us, to do a tribute to our ancestors and to remind the world about what is owed to us. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be here with you this morning to share this song with you. I just want to remind everyone here that history forgotten is soon repeated.
Me ancestors crossing the Atlantic Sea. I see the sail of the slave ships there, bearing me to captivity. My eyes fill up with tears are crying, draped in chains from head to toe. Right next to me, somebody dying. I didn't know if it was me who'd be next to go. Oh, I didn't know if it was me who'd be next to go. I didn't know if it was me who'd be next to go. Black bodies, I feel the whip of the slave master raining pain all over me. If you could hear the children crying, pools of red gruesomely on display, them Europeans were so frightening. I'm longing to see a better day. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm longing to see a better day. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm longing to see a better day. Oh. Can you hear the children crying? Mama, help me, Lord. Generation after generation, we stayed on the plantations. We taught the free here in this island.
with no kind of compensation. If you could only see the picture that I paint so vividly, then you would have no hesitation to agree they owe reparations to we. You must agree, you must agree. Europeans owe reparations to we. You must agree, you must agree. Them people owe reparations to we. Don't forget or dismiss my ancestors. This country was built on their sweat and tears. It's time for our children to prosper. Let's rebuild our empire, a legacy to last through the years. Oh, rebuild a legacy to last through the years. Oh, let's rebuild a legacy to last through the years. Oh, over generations, over generations, over generations. Then people owe reparations to we. 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 Thank you.
Yes, Betty, we do agree. Them people owe reparations to we. And so say we all in the Caribbean community and all across the continent of Africa. Brothers and sisters, you have heard from the government and people of Barbados in the person of our acting Prime Minister. You have heard from CARICOM in the person of the director of the CSME. And now we need to hear from the continent of Africa. We need to hear a voice that speaks for the people of the continent of Africa. And we are fortunate to have with us in Barbados a very distinguished native of Kenya. He is Professor David Akombo. He is an ethnomusicologist by profession. He is the Dean of the Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts at the Cave campus of the University of the West Indies. And he is a world-renowned music educator, an educator, a researcher, and a scholar in the fields of music education, as well in the field of interdisciplinary research in arts and health. And so we could think of no better person to represent the continent of Africa, to speak on behalf of the people of Africa at this Africa-CARICOM Day ceremony. And so I invite Professor David Akombo, please grace us with your presence on the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, give him a warm welcome as he approaches the stage.
Shared cultures, shared knowledge, shared destiny, a return to culture. Acting Prime Minister William Duguid, distinguished guests, the protocol has already been established. Good morning. I'm honored to share my remarks on this occasion of the celebration of Africa Union CARICOM Day. The title of my short presentation is Shared Cultures, Shared Knowledge, Shared Destiny, a Return to Culture. This celebration seeks to facilitate a much needed and provocative 21st century dialogue on optimizing the sub-global linkage, networking, and appreciation of the peoples of Africa and the people of the CARICOM. I'm privileged to serve as the founding dean of the Faculty of Culture, Creative, and Performing Arts at the University of the West Indies at Cave Hill campus, where we regard ourselves as champions for culture and the creative arts, which form the structural anatomy of the orange economies. Although today I won't just focus on the orange economy, which is very vital, but we'll speak in general in terms of issues of mutual interest to the people of Africa, and perhaps to a similar extent, the peoples of the Caribbean. As a member of the African diaspora, I consistently remind myself of the fact that Africa and the people of Africa descent still possess extremely rich cultural, technological, and natural resources on the continent. The economic potential of Africa is still alive today, albeit the evidence of scattered assets and degradations that have plagued it since the first half of the 20th century. That's one of the research in my book, Akambo, Katembo, and Kempt, 2015. But it should be noted that Africa is largely dependent on its natural resources to achieve growth and development. However, defining and assessing Africa's potential technological and economic growth has always been a problem. This is largely due to Africa's 21st century challenges, including the adverse impact of climate change leading to increase in water scarcity, the loss of biodiversity and ecosystem, partly due to desertification, low resilience to natural disasters, energy crisis due to increase in demand, food crisis and food security, including genetically modified crops, limited benefits from globalization, health security, the global financial crisis, drug and human trafficking and piracy, intellectual property rights, infringement, low penetration of ICT services, urbanization, the need to develop better disaster response mechanisms, technology and knowledge transfer, political instability, among others. Although these challenges are not just limited to Africa, but seem to be born in other parts of the world, and particularly in the CARICOM as well. And although culture is the bedrock of the Afrocentric social order, culture itself can also have unwitting consequences on the aforementioned factors. Take, for instance, the patrilineal and matrilineal customs, women and land ownership, female genital mutilation, dental avulsions or teeth removal, child labor violations, such as child soldiers in armed conflict zones, economic corruption, the role of women and girls in the neo-traditional African societies, the denial of their right to free basic education in favor of early marriages, among others. These practices are embedded not only as cultural identities in some cultures, but they also impinge upon the Darwinian survival of the fittest theory, with implications of high child mortality rates and so on. As you can envision, these challenges continue to lead to potential non-achievement of the Millennium Development Goals of the United Nations. As we celebrate the AU CARICOM Day, I submit that the 21st century be considered the age of enlightenment, thus with respect to harnessing of the technological determinism. As we can all envision, technology is currently ubiquitous, both in the Caribbean and in Africa. Even though Thorstein Veblen the American economist and social scientist, has argued that technology in any given society defines its nature. Overall, at least in the 21st century, I also submit that technology was and it still is viewed as the driving force of culture through which the course of history of our collective nations have indeed shared cultures, shared knowledge, shared destiny, and therefore a return to culture is more fitting now than ever. In conclusion, I offer two proposals as follows. First, I propose the idea of the AU-CARICOM Age of Enlightenment, in which a targeted aim should be built a socio-economic, socio-cultural, and a scientific revolution that goes in tandem with the goals already identified or defined by the United Nations. The AU-CARICOM Age of Enlightenment should be a period of scientific awakening centered on the interrogation of the drawbacks that impede the quick realization of socio-economic development between Africa and the CARICOM nations. Second, I propose the idea of return to culture, in which the peoples of Africa and those of the CARICOM nations make a deliberate effort to align themselves with exaltation of experiences based on their shared histories, shared cultures, and a sense of a common identity forged by the events of history both in Africa and the CARICOM. A return to culture can have positive implications that can lead to the Afrocentric intuition of Ubuntu, thereby advancing and leveraging conditions that are suitable for technological development, knowledge exchange, and economic integration to bolster the economic trade of the people of these regions, starting with microfinancing for village farmers, to community tradesmen, to national institutions, to the continental and regional corporate banks on the continent of Africa and the archipelagos of the Caribbean nations, at the backdrop of all-encompassing God-given freedom in pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
We thank Professor Akombo for those very enlightening remarks on behalf of the continent and people of Africa. Brothers and sisters, we have now come to the high point of this morning's ceremony here at government headquarters in Barbados, the flag-raising part of our ceremony. And it is so appropriate that we will be raising the flags under the gaze of the statue of the Right Excellent Sir Grantley Adams, who was not merely the Premier of Barbados, but was the first and the only Prime Minister of the West Indies Federation that lasted from 1958 to 1962, and indeed was one of the champions par excellence, one of the architects par excellence of our Caribbean integration movement. So this is how we are going to do the flag raising ceremony. I'm first going to invite the three representatives of Barbados, CARICOM, and Africa, Acting Prime Minister William Dugid, Mr. Leo Titus Preville, and Professor David Akombo. I'm going to invite them to take up their positions by the three flagpoles. And once they have taken up their positions, I'm going to invite you, the members of the audience, to, in a sense, follow them, and you will be directed where to take up your positions so that you could witness the flag-raising ceremony. And once we have accomplished the flag-raising ceremony, we will come back here because we will then have a reflection on the three anthems, the anthem of Barbados, the CARICOM song or anthem and the African Union anthem. There we have those three beautiful flags. At the top of the flagpole, the broken trident of Barbados, the flag, the green, yellow, and white of the African Union, and the flag of our Caribbean community. This is historic, ladies and gentlemen. It has certainly never happened in Barbados before, and it may very well have never happened in any other country prior to this morning, to have a ceremony where these three flags fly so proudly. And we now ask everyone to make their way back to, perhaps we should have the three dignitaries make their way first, and then everyone else could follow them. But we are going to have the playing of the three national anthems. So please make your way back to the tent area. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have the playing of the national anthems. We are going to begin with the anthem of our guests. That is the African Union, and that will be followed by the anthem of the Caribbean community. And then finally, the host country, the anthem of the host country, the anthem of Barbados will close off the playing of the anthem. So I ask you all to stand for the anthem of the African Union.
Let us all unite and celebrate together the victories won for our liberation. Let us dedicate ourselves to rise together to defend our liberty and unity. All sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa a tree of life. Let us all unite and sing together to uphold the bonds that frame our destiny. Let us dedicate ourselves to fight together for lasting peace and justice on earth. All sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa the tree of life. Let us all unite and toil together to give the best we have to Africa, the cradle of mankind and fount of culture, our pride and hope at break of dawn. All sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa the tree of life.
We will now have the CARICOM song, otherwise known as the CARICOM anthem.
From many distant lands, our forefathers came, some seeking adventure, some bound in chains. Through battles waged and fought, through victory and pain, by test of their courage, our freedom was gained. In homage to those gone before us, the heroes of lands in the sun, we vow to join hands and to focus on building one Caribbean. Raise your voices high, sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong, feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrate in song as we rise to heights where we belong. Sound the victory drum for CARICOM. Though great and diverse be our ethnicities, the bonds that unite us are stronger than these. We dine, we pray, we love, we dance and we play. We relate to each other, rest in John. future now firmly in our hands. Raise your voices high and sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong. Feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrate in song as we rise to heights where we belong. Sound the victory drum for CARICOM. Hele, hele, bravo. Open your sting, CARICOM. Leve, leve, bravo. Knock your drum, CARICOM. Tabu, ya tabu, awo. Open your sting, CARICOM. Leve, leve, bravo. Raise your voices high and sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong. Feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrate in song as we rise to heights where we belong. Sound the victory drum for CARICOM. Hele, hele, bravo. Open your sting, CARICOM. Leve, leve, bravo. Hele, hele. Tabu, ya tabu, awo. Knock your drum, CARICOM. Leve, leve, bravo.
We're going to have to learn how to dance at attention to the CARICOM anthem. It is so infectious. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have in plenty and in time of need the national anthem of the Republic of Barbados. Sprung a pride that makes no mountain boast of what it has withstood, that runs our hearts from coast to coast, the pride of nations. Northern suns and northern storms Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. We have come to the end of what I think is a very historic Africa-CARICOM Day ceremony here this morning. I believe that similar ceremonies to this one would have been held in several CARICOM countries and perhaps in some African countries as well. But we know that we are only really now beginning to recognize and celebrate this new day of significance, this Africa-CARICOM Day, and that we still have a lot of work to do to really build it up into a massive and powerful Pan-African celebration that will reign all over the African world every 7th of September. But in bringing our ceremony to a close, I would like to thank, first of all, the Prime Minister of Barbados, Honorable Mia Amor Motley, who was very insistent that not only Barbados, but that CARICOM and the African Union, that we must recognize and do justice to this day. I want to give thanks to the Secretary General and the Chairman of CARICOM, Dr. Carla Barnett, and Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, respectively, for putting out the word regionally and calling on all CARICOM governments to celebrate this day. I want to give thanks to all of the officials of the Prime Minister's office, the officials of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here in Barbados, who would have worked on making this ceremony the success that it was today. I want to thank all of the artists who answered the call and gave of their talent here this morning. I want to thank all of the presenters, Acting Prime Minister William Duguid, Mr. Leo Prevail, and Professor David Akombo for bringing us those powerful messages. And last but not least, I want to thank all of you, ladies and gentlemen, who made the time to be here on a Thursday morning to be witness to this ceremony. Of course, the Barbados Defense Force for helping us with the flag raising ceremony, all of the technical staff, the song technicians, everyone. I don't have a list, but everyone who played a role in helping us to bring off what will go down in history as a very historic official Africa-CARICOM Day celebration here in Barbados and indeed across our Caribbean community. So ladies and gentlemen, let me just end by how I began this morning, by simply wishing all of you a very happy, a very joyous, a very meaningful Africa-CARICOM Day 2023. Next year we will meet again and we will do it all over again, but much better in a much more powerful way. Thank you very much.